You don't know it yet, but I'm about to help you write better blog posts and articles, but also earn more per blog post and on a retainer basis. I'm Mandy Ellis, and I built a six-figure freelance writing business, and now I help other freelance writers hit five-figure months with dream clients without all the burnout, stress, overwhelm, and hustle. The very first thing, number one here, we're switching to an initial 90-day retainer. This is something that a lot of times I'll see even writers who have been around for 3 or 5 or sometimes even 10 years, they will take one blog post a month or two blog posts a month, and they will do these very small retainers or these very small projects that end up crippling their ability to write better blog posts. They have small clients that they are getting onboarded all the time, and they're not actually learning a tone and style. They're not actually improving their blog post format. They're basically starting over a bunch of times, and it can really ruin your ability to write better blog posts. So this not only helps you earn more because you have this initial 90-day retainer. I suggest a minimum of 4 blog posts per month. We all know weekly content is where we want to be right now. So this is something that creates an ongoing cash funnel for you and your business, but more importantly, it allows you to really onboard a client. And the way that I like to talk about this is that you are explaining this to your client as the first month is working out the process, getting everything configured. The second month of that retainer with your blog post is to help you refine the process, remove anything that's kind of messing up the working process between you, or the writing process or the editing process. And then third month is like, are we working well together? Is this a well-oiled machine? If it is, and you want to keep going, this is how you keep working with me on these blog posts. If not, we go our separate ways. This is really easy for your clients to understand. But more importantly, those 12 blog posts allow you to actually pick up speed and write better over those 3 months for your client. You learn what they like in terms of their quirks and what they don't like. You learn how to write better headers, better headlines. You learn how to structure writing better for the web where it's shorter paragraphs, or you learn how to do better interviews or add better research. There are things where you have this nice chunk of time, this 90-day chunk, where you learn how to improve based on that client's feedback. And most of the time as writers, we can't write in the dark. You can't just create clips or samples just by yourself. You need to have active participation from an editor or a client, something like that, that actually tells you what do they want, what do they don't, what do they not want, what do they like, what kind of bugs them. Every client's a little bit different, but this really helps you hone your writing skills, especially when you're working with clients that'll catch little things like passive voice, or like when you're making grammar errors, or when you're doing something that doesn't make sense. So this is really helping your clients better. It helps you get better results for them because you're improving your copy as you move along. You're publishing weekly content. You're checking in on that, which we'll go over later in this video. But you have this initial 90-day retainer that is this solid chunk of time for you to improve with them, improve the quality of your work as you learn what they like and don't like, and how to, write better for their brand. But also it gives you an ongoing retainer where every month you're getting paid for these 4 blog posts. I have been typically writing 800 to 1,000 words. It could be at 1,000 to 2,000. Some people like really long posts that are 2,000 to 3,000 words. But I would kind of stick in that, like, I think a good amount of space is somewhere between 800 and 2,000, depending on what it is. But that gives you a really good way to write better blog posts that most people just don't do. They just straight up don't do it. They try to learn blog posts or writing great articles by doing little pieces here and there, and it just messes with you over and over again because you're like restarting the engine. Move to this better model of suggesting a 90-day retainer for blog posts a month, let's say 1,000 to 1,500 words. And that really helps you with writing better blog posts and earning more. Now, if you're someone who's like, I definitely need to earn more, I need something to help me get this 90-day retainer, to understand how to get on that client call and move forward. How do I talk to these better clients? How do I actually create more steady cash in my business? I would love for you to check out my 7-day email course called Unskippable. It's called Unskippable because it includes 7 lessons that you cannot miss. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been around the block for 12 years. I've been teaching this material for a long time. These are the 7 lessons that you cannot skip. You will always refer to them. They are the foundation of a freelance writing business that can survive through ups and downs and turnarounds and all the things. So if you go to mandyellis.com/skip, you can get 50% off at $47. it's normally 97, but you can get it for 47 by going to mandyellis.com/skip. You also have special little Easter egg bonuses in there. I put little fun bonuses in the lessons and cool little things that you can kind of let's say skip, or doing little fun like fast forwardy things that I think past people who have taken Runway really enjoyed. So you can go in there, get extra tips, that you can save all of the emails so that you have everything in one referenceable place so that you don't get stuck, you don't get lost, and you have the exact 7-pillar foundation that you need as a freelance writer to build this kind of successful business. 47 bucks. It used to be 97. Since you're here on YouTube, you're getting it for 47. Go to mandyellis.com/skip to grab it. Number 2, let's talk about number 2. So you need to get examples. This is a big mistake. I talk to my students, my unskippable students, or my Wealth Lab students, or my Runway students. I talk about this all the time. You need to be getting examples from your clients. When someone says write a blog post and then you just go off and do it, we've made a huge mistake. You need to go to your client and say, send me examples of the blog posts you like. And we all know that when someone sometimes sends a case study that looks nothing like a traditional case study, blog posts are even more wide ranging and wild. They're more Wild West in terms of examples. So you need to get an example from your client. From the very first call, you need to get an example of like, what do they like? 3 examples would be great. If they don't have an example, you go find some. Go find some blog posts that you like from businesses like theirs, competitors, or even your own clips, and say, hey, what about these 3? What do you think of this? Do you like one of these more than the other? Have them pick something, because anytime we are writing to an example, your writing will improve, especially if you pick something that is way higher level. And this is what I recommend, especially if we're talking about blog posts or articles. This is what happens when people are focusing on high level magazines. If you're focused on a high level sample from a big magazine, that helps you bring up your writing ability much faster than picking something just like a pinch better than yours. So pick something that you really admire, pick a sample of yours that you really loved writing, pick a different type of blog post that you feel like would be a stretch for you if you're pulling your own example. It really helps improve your writing. The other thing is that you should be collecting these over time. So you should be collecting blog posts, you should be collecting articles, you should be collecting things where you're like, wow, I would love to write this for a content marketing client, or maybe even a magazine if we're talking about articles versus blog posts. Collect those because they will come in handy. You need to be reading widely. You need to be reading a lot. This shouldn't be a big challenge for a lot of writers because we love to read. That's most of the time how we got into writing, was we started being book lovers or readers or whatever, and then we learned the writing part. So you need to read a lot. You need to read a lot of articles. You need to read a lot of blog posts. You need to read widely. Read those competitor website blogs, read the magazines. And that really helps you get better word choice. It's sort of like osmosis. You learn better word choice. You learn how to do sentence variety. You learn how to avoid passive voice. You learn how to not make comma splices, or you use how you get to pick different grammar things that you actually get to use how you like. I'm a big fan of the semicolon. I really hate M dashes and N dashes, so I don't use them. But I have a lot of examples of how to write the things I like to write, or things that are above my writing level that I then try to meet so my writing improves. And like we talked about in number 1, if you have an ongoing retainer and you keep trying to meet this, right? Let's say we have this example of a blog post and it's 2 to 10 steps ahead of us, or let's say 8 to 10 steps ahead of us. Every time you do that over those first 12 blog posts of the 90-day retainer, you're getting closer and closer and closer. That's why that's so important for improving your writing. So you need to get an example from your client. If your client doesn't have an example, you go find one from your stash or from your clips and say, what do you think about this? Number 3, one of the things that I think really helps with improving your writing is tracking stuff. I like to use Ubersuggest for this. You can get a lifetime plan. It's generally like $500. You pay it one time, never pay again. For me, Ubersuggest is like the easiest thing to use. Google Analytics, SEMrush, ClearScope, Moz, like all of those things. They're like really complicated. They have so many pieces, but Ubersuggest makes it really clear to see, how is this piece of content working for your client? So you can kind of go in there, paste in the link of the blog post, and you can see like what's resonating, how is this working, how is it compared to the other content they've created, and then you can kind of piece that take little pieces out of that. Like, could this headline be improved? You can check competitor content in there and see if you need to improve other parts of your blog post, like your headers, like your CTAs. Maybe the tone and style and voice is, too junior sounding compared to your competitors. Maybe you need to improve that. Or maybe your competitors of your clients are more fun or more engaging. Let's work on that. You can think about it as like, the content you're reading on a competitor site is like they're going with a brand instead of a thought leader, right? A big brand versus one person. Is that working better? Can you look at length and complexity? Is there something that you need to improve in terms of research or interviews? Is there something about your client that you need to focus on SEO more than AI overviews, or AI overviews over SEO? There's all these little things that you can do, and the AI overviews are changing a lot. So that's something that I would just keep in the back of your mind. SEO is very old. We've been doing it for a while, or old in technology terms. But you need to keep track of what's working and what's not. Was there a certain CTA that's been working on other blog posts? You can use Uber Suggest as a tool for that, or you can compare clicks through the back end of your client's site. Can we look at traffic? Can we look at, use a heat map, right? Can we use something like, what's it called? Not hot, is it Hotjar? Yeah, there's like something jar. I think it's Hotjar where you are looking at the heat map of where people are reading or scanning or where they're spending their most attention. But there's a lot of things we can do to really improve our blog posts. And the thing that I always like to remember is that I'm usually not writing a typical blog post. What I'm writing when I write an article, like I consider a blog post an article. It would be the same thing that I would be writing for a magazine, for a top level newsstand magazine, versus just like 5 paint colors this year or something general. So whenever I'm thinking about a blog post, to me, it just happens to be published on someone's blog. There's nothing different from what I would write for a magazine. So the intro is, very like storytelling, or it's dropping people into data, it's dropping people into interviews. It's not the typical type of like blog post. And I think that has been a transition for a while, where it's not just information. That's kind of the separation between AI and what we're doing, is giving interviews, giving research, giving perspective, giving tone and style, not just barfing information at people. People don't need more information. They need you to present that storytelling in a voice that they can resonate with, that they can then take action, or they can work with your client, or they can learn something to move forward. It's not just barfing information at them. I think these things are really important when you're thinking about blog posts, especially when you conflate them with articles. I know that sometimes people like to separate. Blog posts are for, the business clients, and articles are for magazines. They're the same thing. Like, if you are working with magazines, you can publish the exact same quality content for a business. It'd be the exact same. So you could write a travel article for Condé Nast or Travel and Leisure, and you could write that same thing, that same type of article, for a company that does travel tours, or for a luggage company, depending on what their vibe is, what their tone and style and all their stuff is. So the complexity or the length, the detail, what you're writing about can be published on both things. Just remember that. And that's something that you can charge more for too. So when you're going through these blog posts, remember that they could look exactly like a magazine article. You do not have to dumb it down. We don't have to just barf information at people. You are storytelling, and you're looking at what works. So when you're looking at blog posts, this is one of the most common things you'll do. So remember that we want to contain it in a period of time where we can improve our writing over that time. But we also are writing from an example. You should always be writing from an example from your client, or a client approved example, so that you know what you're supposed to be meeting in terms of tone, style, quality, like, does it need this or this or this? I think that really helps. Next time, or you can watch this next video, we are going to talk about guides and downloadables, anything that someone might subscribe to get, an ebook, maybe things that people might enter their email address, or like things that might be multi-page or several thousand words that your client wants to work on with you, and how to actually write those better. What is kind of the basic one versus the amplified one? What's the smallest one that you could write that could classify as a guide or an ebook? What's the largest one? There's really a lot of variety here. So I hope that this has been helpful, and I will see you next time.